Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am so glad you are all here today. My name is Isabella, and I am a part of Etsy's community team. We are the folks behind programs and events like this designed to help you, our amazing community of Etsy sellers, find success and grow your business on the Etsy platform. So today's event is going to run for about 45 minutes, and we've got some very exciting content to cover. We'll be diving into the latest Marketplace Insights report focused on 2025 spring and summer trends. Has everyone seen the trend guide yet that just launched last week? Let us know in the chat. If you haven't, totally fine. We're going to go over it in detail today. All right, so this report is packed with insights that'll help you prep your shop for the upcoming season and was built using real Etsy search data as well as industry forecasting. So I hope you'll walk away with an understanding of some of the latest trending styles, themes, motifs, things that we're seeing are currently top of mind for buyers right now when it comes to trends. And then also just get some inspiration for utilizing these trends. So right now, our resident trend expert, Dana Isom Johnson, is currently away on parental leave, but she will be back very, very soon to reconnect with our seller community and share even more about these trends. Until then, I'm going to walk you through 6 key trends that we're seeing and share some ideas that may help you bring these trends to life in your own creative way. We're also going to have time for a Q&A at the end of this session. So if any questions come up as I'm walking through all of these trends, please feel free to pop them over in our Q&A tab. I'm just double checking that my team is opening that up. Great. The Q&A tab is officially open. So again, if you have any questions as we're going through this presentation, this session, please feel free to pop them over in the Q&A tab. You can also upvote questions there from other sellers. So if you see a question asked, it's something you're curious about too, feel free to go ahead and vote that question up. That way we make sure we hit the most popular ones first. Okay, so before we dive in here, I have one just obligatory statement that I want to share, which is you know your business best. You have the best insights into what works for your brand, your products, and of course, your customers. And so the trends that we're covering today, they're really just meant to inspire and spark ideas. And we realize they may not work for every shop. So I'd love for everyone to just think of this as a creative starting point. If something resonates with you, awesome, run with it. If not, that's totally okay. It's all about finding what feels authentic to you and right for your shop. So with this in mind, let's start exploring some of these trends that might work for you. First, let's just take a quick moment to call out some upcoming gifting moments and occasions that may be relevant to your shop. So these are typically considered key retail moments, and this list is also outlined in the Marketplace Insights report. So feel free to take a look at that too if you want to jot these down from there. But really quick, Mother's Day, Father's Day, graduation, Independence Day, additional events, Cinco de Mayo, gardening season, housewarmings, anniversaries, retirements, baptisms, communions, family reunions, spring showers, think bridal, baby, engagement, weddings, and of course, birthdays. That's an always on thing. But these are just a few occasions for you to keep in mind as you're thinking about inventory and trends. All right, trends. So to set the stage for the trends that we're about to explore, I want to call out one sort of overarching trend that I think would be great to keep in mind, and that is midimalism. So not maximalism, not minimalism, but midimalism. So somewhere in between the two. Dana has actually described this as meaning the perfect blend of something bold yet mindful, thoughtful, intentional. So it's making a statement, but in a way that feels a little more refined, maybe a little more effortless. And this again is like setting the tone for the months ahead and some of these other trends that we're going to dive deeper into today. So think statement pieces meeting everyday ease, personal style, feels more natural than ever before. It's that very effortlessly cool vibe. So, whether you're embracing the playful coquette chaos that we're going to talk about in a minute, or you're making waves with modern nautical vibes, another trend we'll get to shortly, this season is all about expressing creativity in a way that's both intentional and unapologetically you. All right, let's jump in and take a closer look at what's trending and how you might make the most of it for your shop. Okay, first trend that I want to talk through is messy coquette. Raise your hand if you've heard of this, or if you maybe know what coquette is, but you're not sure what messy coquette is. And I'm trying to follow along in the chat here as we go, but I might not see everything. No clue about this, Anne Marie. Okay, well, let me talk. What the heck is that? Great. Okay, let's go over that one in a bit more detail. So last year, coquette alone was having a moment. And if you're unfamiliar with what coquette is, it's a style that's a mix of sweet, romantic, sometimes playful elements. And we've evolved. So now we are thinking beyond coquette, but with a little more mess, a little more cool, a little more low effort in the overall look. So, messy coquette, we've got some great examples, and I've named the sellers that are featured in all of the slides here in case you're all curious about where these beautiful items are all coming from. But this season, the aesthetic is still very flirty, but it's a bit campier, if you will, a bit more fun, a bit more tongue in cheek. So it's a playful evolution of that hyper feminine style. It's sort of taking that with 90s Y2K pop star energy with effortlessly undone charm. So, more specifically, what we're seeing when it comes to messy coquette is ruffles and bows. Raise your hand or say hello in the chat if you have anything with ruffles or bows in your shop. I'm kind of having like a little ruffle moment myself right now. But yes, ruffles and bows are really taking center stage. If it's in the closet, in the couch, it doesn't matter. We're seeing this start to trend across inventory. So think ruffles on jackets or skirts, curtains with a ruffle print or ruffle motif on the side, blankets with a ruffle trim, throw pillows. All of those types of items are up in the double digits when we look at year over year sales. But it's not just ruffles, also tussled ribbons, bows, charms covering everything, like kind of overdoing it on the charms, beads, beads on bags, beads on shoes. We're starting to see that have a moment as well. So here's some Etsy search data I want to call out that I think helps bring this to life a little bit more. So searches for coquette bows are up 500%. Sweatshirts and t-shirts with bows on them, sales for those types of items have more than doubled. And bead bag searches are up nearly 20%. And just a quick call out here, all search data and sales data that we're going to call out here today is as of February 20th, 2025, and based on searches and sales within the last 3-month period compared to the same time last year, just to be clear. All right, so again, messy coquette, it's hyper feminine to the point where it's really just like kind of having fun with it. But remember, it's messy coquette. So we don't need to be coquette full force or coquette head to toe. It's kind of like using coquette as a bit of an accent with maybe an everyday look or everyday pieces in the home. So how might we bring this to life? Like, what does this actually look like in your shop? Something I want to do today during this event is really talk about what these trends could look like in practice. I think hopefully that's helpful. Hopefully that's inspiring. And so to start, I want to think about fashion, accessories, and jewelry sellers. How might you incorporate this trend, either a little bit or full force if you want, into your inventory line? So when I think about ruffles, because we talked a lot about ruffles already, is there a way to incorporate a ruffle here or there into an existing collection? So again, thinking about jackets, can you add ruffle trim? Or skirts, can you add a ruffle detail? Sweaters, is there a way to add ruffles or even just some of those more romantic details? So I'm thinking like an exaggerated sleeve, something that feels very soft and romantic. And then bows. Bows is the other thing. I love how, like for example, in these images here, this one seller added a ceramic bow onto their mug. Very cool way of bringing that coquette trend into your ceramics. I also love the idea of just a bow detail on a sweatshirt or a top, and bonus points if it's oversized, and even more bonus points if it's really like romantic type of fabric like velvet or organza, for example. Um, you could also, maybe it's not a physical bow, because if you're like me, maybe you can't tie bows really good, except that kind of goes with the messy coquette trend. Like if you can't tie a bow that great, maybe this trend is for you, the more messy, tousled looking bow. But maybe it's actually like graphics of bows, whether it's a pin or a pouch, something that can be added to clothing and accessories. How would you work this into woodworking? Zachary, great question. Maybe you are doing some laser cut bows, wood bows that could be details that other sellers utilize for, wood signs or charms on necklaces. I feel like you can have fun with it, get creative with it. Okay, so ruffles, bows, charms. Seeing so many charms. Charms are having a moment. It's very Y2K. It's very cutesy. It's very hyper feminine. The bracelets that we're seeing with hearts and stars and tiny perfume bottles and little ditzy flowers. You guys get what I'm saying, right? Also seeing a lot of charms on items that you wouldn't maybe think to add charms to. So bag charms, shoe charms. I saw over on the Etsy Instagram recently, Bridget, one of our content creators, was adding charms to the hinges on her door to give her home a very coquette and charming look and feel. So I just love seeing how people are getting creative with it. Over in home decor, so hi, if you're selling home decor, let us know in the chat. Are there ways to incorporate this flirty, frilly decor in your existing items? For example, can you bring in the ribbons, the ruffles, the bows? I think you could also consider playing with really pretty pastel colors. We're seeing those types of colors trend, as well as motifs that kind of fit into this coquette vibe. So gingham, cherries, ditzy florals. I think you could also look at wall hangings and curtains and maybe add ribbon detail there or bows there. Things that might be a bit more unexpected, but still add some like playful, flirty charm. Oh, I see Christina mentioned wreaths. Yes. Oh my gosh, imagine a wreath just with like a bunch of different bows on it. If someone's making that, please let me know in the chat. Oh, what nail styles are trending right now? Esther just asked. Sorry if I'm missing all the questions, you all. The chat is moving really fast, but hopefully we'll get to all the questions in our Q&A later. But for nail art, I'm thinking pink, red, bows, frilly designs, cherries. A girl that I work with here, she had fruit and cherries on her nails recently, and they were so, so cute. Okay, digital products. Where are my digital sellers at? Let us know in the chat if you sell digital products. Okay, so digital products. How are you going to incorporate Messy Coquette into your product line? Okay, so just a few ideas, but let me know what yours are. Can you offer coquette content kits? For example, if you sell like digital scrapbook kits or social media templates or mood boards, is there a way to lean really hard into the frilly details, the bows, the ruffles, the color palettes here, offering somebody a full kit to like lean into this trend full force? You could also consider editable bow stickers or font pairings that have a really flirty, curly, swirly, hyper feminine aesthetic to them. And then I also think there's a lot of opportunity here for printable wall art or planners. Can you use those dreamy fonts and those pastel colors and those playful motifs we've been talking about across artwork, or even like cheeky quotes or affirmations that feel very messy coquette? Is there an opportunity to lean into that? Okay, I hope you guys are excited about messy coquette. Let's move on to our next trend, which is literary girl. I'm very excited about this one. Okay, so romantics, bookworms, daydreamers, this one is for you because the literary revival is here. So we have nearly 20,000 book-related purchases happening on Etsy every day. That's based on Etsy purchases in January of this year. That's wild. So it's clear that reading is more than just a hobby. It is becoming a lifestyle, right? So think vintage book stacks that are doubling as decor to personalized book embossers that can help buyers mark their most treasured reads. Literary Girl is a total vibe right now. So here are a few stats related to this trend that I wanted to surface. So blind book date boxes, searches for those have more than doubled. Do you all know what blind book date boxes are, by the way? I actually just learned about this not too long ago. These are, okay, Zoe sells them. Zoe, drop your shop name so we can check out your book boxes. But yes, these are very cute, curated boxes, if you will, where the sellers are making stickers or bookmarks or have quotes that are really meaningful to our readers, just creating these really cute small wonders, these very giftable things that you could give to your friend who is also maybe a literary girl or really into this literary scene right now. Also, items related to a book club trending as well. Searches are up over 20%. And then personalized book embossers, searches for those are up 30%. So people are wanting to like personalize their books. Again, all search data and sales data is as of February 2025 and based on searches and sales in the last 3 months compared to the same time last year, just to be clear. Okay, so what does this look like in practice? How might you incorporate this trend in your shop? Let me know in the chat what you're already doing or what you're thinking, and then some ideas just to get the creative juices flowing. If you are already doing bookish style products, personalized book embossers and stamps are really having a moment. So book lovers called, Etsy seller answered. No one does personalization like Etsy sellers. So we're seeing the rise in custom book embossers and stamp designs. I think that makes a lot of sense. Think initials or library stamps with romantic flourishes. Maybe you're borrowing some of those dreamy fonts from Messy Coquette and bringing them into a book embosser or a stamp so that someone can, again, just really like customize their book and their treasures. Also, vintage sellers, book stacks are having a moment as well. So think about vintage books or creating a stack that can sort of double in purpose, be something really, really functional. And then bookmarks, but make them art. So how can we continue to offer this timeless item, this really valuable item, but sort of have a little more fun with it or do something a little bit different? A few things that I've seen in the marketplace already are metal bookmarks or leather bookmarks that have really beautiful detailing on them, pressed flowers, tassel-tied bookmarks, bookmarks that lean into really fun literary tropes or have really fun quotes on them. I personally love some of these like puns or sayings that we're seeing a lot of sellers lean into already. For example, this throw pillow here that says one more chapter on it. I love that. And then the other one, I'm not sure if you can see, it says fell asleep here, and it's a bookmarker bookmark. Very cute. All right, so if you're selling apparel and accessories, I think there's a lot of opportunity here as well. So think about the people who are subscribing to this trend and what are they wearing? My first thought is super cozy. Like if you're a literary girl, you're reading all the time, you got to be comfortable. So think about cozy cardigans, embroidered sweatshirts. Again, maybe you can lean into some of those reading puns or phrases like one more chapter or this is the best part, lounge sets with literary quotes, maybe some moody prints could be incorporated into that as well, because we know that a sub-trend within the literary girl trend is dark academia. This was a popular trend last year, and we're still seeing buyers very into this trend as well, so that's kind of a sub-trend within the trend. Also, think about cozy fabrics when you are putting together apparel or accessories. So organic cottons, cable knit textures, really soft, cozy feeling fabrics. The other thing to think about is if you make like bags or accessories, pouches, can you utilize graphics that sort of lean into this trend? So there's an idea would be tote bags with like a library card graphic on it, or again, leaning into those puns or classic reading tropes. I personally love a found family trope myself. So yeah, thinking about what is really top of mind for literary girls and bringing that into your designs. For jewelry sellers, we're seeing a lot of like jewelry that tells a story. So tiny book locket necklaces, bangles that have a quote engraved on them. Perhaps you offer that as a customization option, like what's your favorite quote from your favorite book and engraving that in. And then going a step further, even like leaning into like antique writing styles or very almost like vintage looking script. I feel like that aligns with the trend really nice too. Maybe you're engraving again those literary puns into your jewelry, like plot twist or chapter one, whatever feels relevant. And then in home and living, think about book nooks. So folks who are subscribed to this trend, they need their cozy outfit, they need their cute literary girl accessories, and then they need a cozy nook to do their reading in. So think about candles perhaps that could be inspired by certain literary trends or tropes or fictional locations. Think about reading pillows or blankets or mugs, rugs, things that would really help curate that super cozy space where you want to just curl up with a good book. And then on the vintage side, I did just want to call out that classic bookend sets. If you can source these, I feel like that would fit really nicely into a book nook situation. There's so many good vintage bookends on Etsy. And then, okay, before we move on to the next one, going back to digital products and potential opportunities there, I feel like there is like so much lingo, there's so much like subculture within the literary girl trend that you might be able to lean into here. So for example, if you sell journals or planners, stationery, maybe you can lean into some of those trends within the trend. For example, like I could see like the TBR. TBR is like a very common phrase, I feel like, in the literary scene. It stands for to be read. And so can you create planners or stationery that allows somebody to document their to be reads? Also, I did have a few social content ideas. If you're looking to bring this trend to life, beyond your Etsy shop, you want to bring it into the marketing for your Etsy shop, and you're offering quite a few literary girl items, could you sort of bundle these items together as you photograph them for your shop and for your listings, and then promote that content on social as well? I think on social media in particular, we're seeing this trend really coming to life, and folks like subscribing pretty loud and proud there. And so, maybe it's like an outfit of the day and it's somebody with their tote and their cozy sweater and their book in their hand, or maybe it's curating a reading nook and it has the candle, the book, the bookmark, the custom embosser. You could also think about it through the lens of prompting your audience, prompting your followers. So if you're promoting book-related items on your social media account, maybe you want to prompt your followers and ask them, what book world would you live in? Or what's your favorite book right now? Or what are your favorite reading tropes? Could also be some good market research for you as well. All right, on to our next trend now, Island Luxe. All right, so this one is not necessarily anything new, but it's having quite a resurgence. And I think that's fueled by the latest cultural moments like binge-worthy resort dramas and island-inspired chart toppers. If you know what show I'm talking about, please don't spoil it in the chat. I have not seen the finale yet, but I plan to watch it soon. Okay, Island Luxe is bringing vacation energy to the front this season. This trend is also known as resort core or tourist chic, and is all about making an intentional statement. So remember what I was saying earlier about minimalism? This is falling under that. So think breezy linens with pops of fruit, pops of color, and then beach-themed jewelry, leaning into natural textures where you can. And with travel accessories ranking as a top search term on Etsy this year, which is based on purchases in January, it's very clear that folks are feeling very much in their vacation era. So let me call out a few stats here. Fruit necklaces. I was talking about fruit charms earlier. Same thing applies here, whether you're leaning into the tropical fruits or the more coquette fruits. Fruits are having a moment. So fruit necklaces, searches for those are up nearly 500%. And then raffia bag searches have more than quadrupled. So this aesthetic is definitely trending. If you're selling fashion, accessories, some ways you might want to incorporate this into your shop. Think about bold prints, bright colors, but as more of a pop versus an all over look and feel. Because remember, minimalism. We're not going full maximalism with super loud, vibrant prints head to toe. It's more of that being the accent, if you will. And then tropical motifs like fruit, again, birds, tropical flowers, relevant animals. In the example here, there's a really beautiful piece of wall art that features flamingos. I always get asked about animals too when we do these trends events. So think island styles and resort core and tropical, and I feel like any animals that you might see in some of those trends or scenarios may be trending as well. Okay, for home and living shops, same as above. Think bold prints, bright colors, tropical motifs, birds. I'm a bird girl myself, love anything with birds on it. So how do you bring this into practice more, I guess? I'm thinking like a pineapple shaped pillow, botanical art prints. And then a call out here for supply sellers. I'm going back to like fashion and accessories for a second. Fruit charms. If you're a supply seller and you don't have fruit charms in your shop, you could be missing out on a lot of searches right now. The other thing to call out supplies-wise, jewelry-wise, is seashells. We're seeing a lot of shell motifs as well as actual seashells being incorporated into styles. And then for digital products, think think about quotes like out of office or PTO or on island time. I think that that could be a good starting point when thinking through potential artwork. Also, invites and materials for celebrations. I know a lot of those items are often digital. So wedding invitations, bachelorette parties, I think we're going to see this be quite a theme, quite a trend across the board for those types of celebrations as well. Is anyone offering Island Lux themed items in their shop already, or did this spark any ideas? Let us know in the chat. Okay, we are going to move on to our next trend here. We're heading to the future, actually, so buckle up. As space travel and sci-fi aesthetics start to shape our culture even more, fashion and design are following suit, helping to create this really cool cosmic trend. So in comes galactic metallic. This is a very futuristic evolution of last season's chrome craze. If you all remember, we were talking about chrome quite a bit. Chrome is still having a moment, but this time it's bringing with it some other colors, more shimmer, think meteor shower level shimmer, holographic textures that really look straight out of a sci-fi movie, and then relevant fabrics that are reflective, making you look like you just stepped out of outer space. It's not just about shine though. Like I said, there's a more colors sort of being brought in. You can see here the blue is really having a moment. Think deep blues, night sky, and also zodiac. So yay, love astrology. Glad to see zodiac themes are back on the trend board here. We're seeing searches up 400% for zodiac themes. So really soaring in popularity there. Really like letting buyers wear their zodiacs and promote their zodiac like a badge of honor, which is really fun. Some other interesting stats here: crystal mug searches are up over 700%. So think mugs that have really beautiful shimmery glazes on them, half moon lamps. So, half of a moon, that is a very popular motif. Searches for those are up nearly 600%. So when bringing this trend into your shop, maybe consider leaning into astrology and zodiac themes, space, cosmic motifs, moons, stars, that sort of thing. I think this trend is actually very versatile too. This overall aesthetic, there's quite a few potential categories where I feel like this can help your shop shine, pun intended. Okay, so starting with fashion and accessories. This is an area where I feel like there's a lot of fun to be had with texture. So both handmade and vintage sellers, can you create or source things that have a lot of sequins or velvets or really shimmery fabrics? Metallic or holographic accessories, also something to look for. I'm thinking like bags, belts, shoes. And then jewelry, can you lean into those really celestial motifs? So stars, moons, suns, that sort of thing. Okay, for home and living, maybe sourcing mirrors or utilizing mirrors, stained glass, ceramics with really fun shimmery glazes. I feel like that could be fun to explore. And then again, as I mentioned earlier, chrome is still having a moment. So perhaps chrome vases, chrome lamps, vintage sellers, if you're able to find chrome figurines, that could be a really fun area to explore as well. I just saw someone say, nope, galactic metallic isn't my thing. No worries, Tana. Again, these are meant to be sort of a jumping off point. Hopefully you find some creative inspo, but we recognize that these trends will not work for everybody. Okay, so still thinking about home decor for this trend. If you're a vintage seller too, I wanted to call out that vintage astronomy books or star charts for decor. Could be a really fun gift or something for a collector, giving your coffee table or your walls a bit more personality. And then galaxy night lights or lamps, maybe it's something that like projects onto the ceiling. That could be great for the kiddos. And speaking of kids, I think this trend could also work really well for kids and babies. So if you're offering toys in your shop, perhaps you lean into space themed motifs. I could also see some really cool space or celestial themed mobiles. Also, personalized name signs. We see a lot of those on Etsy. Is it possible to tap into this trend, whether it's doing a starry sky or moon backdrop on those, just to lean into the trend a bit, differentiate yourself from some of the other sellers? Yeah, those are just a few ideas. If you have additional ideas for galactic metallic, please drop them in the chat. Would love to see them. Okay, we are going to move on to our next trend, which is chateau core. So last summer was all about the carefree tomato girl, if you attended some of our other trend events. This year, we're stepping into something a little more romantic, a little more storybook, and that is chateau core. So on Etsy, it's very clear that this old world aesthetic is having a moment. France cottage decor is one of the top searched terms on Etsy this year, up over 26,000%. Wild. So Chateaucourt, it's less Mediterranean seaside escape and more countryside charm. Chateaucourt is all about airy cotton dresses, embroidered textiles, vintage glassware to help make your Sunday brunch feel like a scene from a French novel. That's sort of the vibe. Okay, some stats to take note of here. So charcuterie board gift searches have quadrupled. Puffy quilt searches have nearly tripled, and vintage glassware searches have nearly doubled. So really, Chateau Court is that dreamy escape that we all need right now. Think French countryside elegance, but with a relaxed and romantic feel. It is the aesthetic of someone who picks wildflowers and bakes tarts from scratch and wears a matching linen check set just to go get the mail. Okay, so how might this show up if you're selling fashion or accessories? Let me know what ideas you have. Okay, lots of ideas. Okay, great. I like that folks are bringing up vintage here too. I think there's definitely um, like a lot to take note of here for vintage sellers. Okay, so fashion. I'm thinking soft, airy linens, puffy sleeves, tie backs, embroidered details. Maybe there's a little bit of coquette here as well. Also, something a bit less casual, perhaps like a silk scarf or lace trimmed kerchiefs or wide brimmed sun hats. Something that you would wear, on your picnic in Bordeaux, of course. Um, Something else that we're seeing with footwear is ballet flats, also espadrilles, even house slippers that have like bows and lace embellishments. Again, maybe there's a little bit of crossover here with coquette, but really you're just trying to kind of create that light and airy, dreamy vibe. And then for home and living, cottagecore decor. We've talked about this trend before. It fits in nicely with this larger trend. So think about leaning into natural materials like stoneware, aged woods. For fabrics, maybe you want to think about gingham prints or toile. I could see this showing up in the form of pillows and curtains. quite a bit. So maybe it's ruffled pillow shams or lace trim on a curtain. Also, garden touches, bringing garden touches indoors. I think the gardening vibe aligns really nicely with this chateau core. So dried flower arrangements, botanical wall prints, pressed flower coasters. These are just a few ideas to get the creative juices flowing. And then so much to be said about art here, whether you're a digital product seller or a painter, or you source vintage prints and paintings. I think there's, again, a lot that could fit really nicely in this aesthetic. So French countryside maps, handwritten letters, botanical sketches, prints that have a very cozy cottage vibe. Lots of fun things to lean into. And then also, I mentioned this earlier when we were talking about Island Luxe, but I think another trend that we might see when it comes to some of those wedding celebrations, bachelorette parties, if you're not going the Island Luxe route, maybe you're going more the Chateau Core route. So thinking about, bundles for wedding invites or party invites or menus, having this very chic, easy breezy sort of French look and feel to them could be a good idea. And then I also had some thoughts here for bringing this to life on social. If you are wanting to promote your Chateau Core related items, maybe you want to lean full into this trend, you could showcase on your social media different ways that your buyers could potentially use your items to bring this overall lifestyle, this look and feel to life. So maybe it's showing off how you style a table. Maybe you're setting up a brunch and you're leaning into, the linen tablescapes. And as you're setting the table, you're wearing your puffy sleeve dress, you guys know what I'm talking about. You could also bundle your products together in your photos and really try to create that French summer kit. So the linen napkin set, the vintage spoon, the pressed flower card next to it, that sort of thing. And then if this is like fully your vibe on social, you could even prompt your followers, what was your cottagecore moment of the week? Something like that. All right, we are going to move on to our last trend, last but certainly not least, maritime living. So this trend is all about embracing the raw, the untamed spirit of the sea, and it's inspired by real deal fishermen and seafarers, bringing a rugged edge to a very classic coastal style. Oh, I just saw Lauren said that she loves this. Lauren, I love this one too. Okay, so think sardine motifs, shell bags, rain boots, materials and items that add that salty, lived-in feel. Sea glass accents are also having a moment within this trend. Handcrafted details that really bring this ocean-inspired tranquility to life via wardrobes or interiors, whatever it is. And then a sub-trend within the trend is stripes. I think we all think of stripes when we think about nautical and coastal styles. So love that that is still very much a part of this. They're making major waves in home decor too. So not just like stripes on a sweater. We're seeing sales for striped items in the double digits across rugs, linens, and wall arts. Here are some other stats too that I want to call out related to this trend. So shell bag searches have more than doubled. So we talked about shells already in the context of Island Luxe. I like that there's overlap in these trends. I think that means that, we can dip our toes in a few of them. Also, fisherman aesthetic searches have nearly doubled. And sardine items, searches for those are up over 75%. Go sardines. They're still having a moment. I feel like we saw a lot of sardine content take stage last year and it's still here, so good for them. Are you offering any maritime living items in your shop already? Would love to know. Otherwise, I think thinking of this as like a cool evolution of that coastal style is a good way to look at it. So gritty, nostalgic. There's lots of textures that you can work with here. So sea glass, ropes, knots, shells, cozy, thick knits, those fisherman sweaters. I think also those more athletic materials, like nylon. I'm thinking of those fishing vests that are having quite the moment right now. You know, the ones with all the pockets, often referred to as a utility vest, which is a good segue into fashion. I want to talk about apparel and accessories and what you might do with this trend, maybe. Okay, going back to stripes. Thinking about offering clothing with stripes, whether it's just across tees, boat neck tops maybe, or oversized linen shirts. Stripes is a classic and it's gonna work really well if you're trying to hit this trend. Also, natural dyes, faded finishes, frayed edges, those types of accents can help create a more lived-in feel. And then if you are sourcing vintage items, perhaps pieces that kind of help create that effortlessly cool, unfussy, sort of timeless look and feel that we get from coastal charms. So maybe it's just a bracelet or a watch, something that is an outfit accent that helps bring that to life. Um, Outerwear is also something that works really well when thinking about this trend. So raincoats, waxed cotton jackets, oversized knits with toggles or rope details on them. And bonus points if you offer matching outfits with your pet. The other day, I was shopping on Etsy and I was looking at a raincoat, and you could get one for yourself and also one that matches perfectly for your dog. And I thought that was amazing, only on Etsy. Okay, other themes and motifs: shells, sardines, sea creatures. Can you print them on totes? Can you create bags in the shapes of these motifs and critters? Maybe you're creating charmed bracelets, leaning fully into sea-themed icons like lobsters and jellyfish. Maybe anchors is another area to explore. You would put this in your capsule collection called By the Dock or something. Um, Also, again, I want to go back to knot and rope details. I think whether it's clothing or jewelry, knot and rope details is a really cool way to bring this trend to life. Okay, if you're offering vintage and you want to lean into this trend, and you're thinking home decor, perhaps antique buoys or brass, compasses, old ship blueprints, ship replicas, perhaps there's something there as well. And if you want to go even further into this trend, like go all the way, I think packaging details could be a fun area to explore. So maybe having a little tag with whatever the item is that sort of tells the story behind the piece, what inspired it, if it was original, vintage, or if it's inspired by something vintage. I think that feels very maritime, and just really thoughtful too. If you're selling art, whether it's physical or digital, I think, again, sardines, fish themes, maps, abstract waveforms. There's a lot of opportunity here for that category as well. Okay, that was our last trend. So I would love to now take a moment and open this up for Q&A. I know we only have a couple minutes, but if you all have any questions about these trends or how you might incorporate them into your product lines, or even how you might optimize your listings with these trends in mind, I would love to hear your questions. All right, so there's a lot of questions. Okay, first question here. Someone is asking if you haven't explored this new experience yet. It's on the Etsy shopping app, so not the Etsy seller app. You'll go to the Etsy shopping app and you'll scroll down a bit on your homepage there, and you can actually start shopping by trends. which is very exciting. I believe there's almost 200, maybe even more at this point. The team is constantly adding new trends in there, featured in there, which just means tons of opportunities for our sellers to be featured. So how are the listings featured? They're selected. Well, it's a combination of curation from our merchandising team as well as machine learning. So similar to how an algorithm works. Basically, our merchandisers curate a ton of the items that are featured there. And then they use machine learning models to help scale those efforts, the expertise of our merchandisers. So while it's not the exact same as the search algorithm, think about what helps you perform well in search and rank high in search. Those are going to be things that can also help you increase your chances of being featured in that new shopping experience. So think strong keywords, high quality items, clear and descriptive descriptions. These are the things that help our merch team find you and want to spotlight you. And then again, machine learning comes into play and helps scale the efforts of that team there. Great question. All right, let's take another question. How can I incorporate trends into my vintage shop? Thank you for this question. So when it comes to sourcing items for your shop, I know some sellers look at vintage as having a really specific niche. A lot of vintage shops will have, either a very particular type of item or items that fit into a certain theme. I actually stumbled across a shop recently that very much felt like everything in their shop was chateau core. So love that. If you have kind of a mix of a bunch of great vintage pieces in your shop, then I think you have a unique opportunity to lean into a lot of different trends. And you might even see which items that fall under some of these trends do really well. And perhaps from there, that could influence your overall sourcing strategy. But I would think about all of these trends and try to extract themes, colors, motifs, styles, animals, prints, and see if you can find objects, furniture, jewelry, whatever it is you source for your shop that aligns nicely with those. I hope that helps. All right, let's take another question. What kind of digital wall art styles are currently trending on Etsy? I'm a new seller and I want to align my designs with what buyers are loving. So I think when it comes to digital prints, lean into colors, prints, patterns that you think will resonate with your buyers. And so, first and foremost, I always suggest looking at your shop stats and seeing what's doing really well in your shop and leaning into what works and maybe skipping out on things that don't work or don't seem to be resonating. Now, if you're a new seller, you may not have a ton of historical context to go off of. So, I would actually advise looking at the trend guide, looking at these trends and figuring out where you feel like you might fit in. I will say across a few different trends, something that seems to be a consistent thread is botanicals. And so folks who sell digital, like let us know if you have additional ideas here in the chat, but whether it is maritime living or island luxe or chateau core, it feels like there's a lot of opportunity for plant life, wildlife, botanical art. So I think that that would be a great starting point. Okay, just saw a great question pop up. Should we use these trending themes in names when it comes to SEO? I love this question. Okay, you guys know I love to talk about SEO. All right, so keep in mind that a lot of these trends have been named in a way that sort of captures what they're all about. Maybe they're a little bit cute. I don't necessarily recommend using the exact terms in your titles and tags. For example, island luxe. Instead, maybe you want to use something like resort core or vacation or island theme or tropical. That being said, I feel like messy coquette is maybe the exception. I wouldn't say messy coquette itself is like a great search term, but I think coquette is a good search term. So if you feel like your products align with this trend, I do think it's a good idea to add the word coquette to your titles or your tags. Now, remember, you never just want to add a single word and call it a day when you're coming up with titles and tags. Phrases are always going to be more productive to use when it comes to SEO. So think coquette bow or coquette dishware or coquette mug, coquette pillows versus just doing coquette and leaving it at that. Again, for the most part, I don't know that there's an exact correlation adding the name of a trend to your SEO, but I think this is an exception. And I'm actually just going to quickly go through my slides here and see if I feel like there are any other exceptions. Literary girl, I think there's probably other words and phrases that are more relevant. Galactic metallic, you might want to lean more into like holographic and chrome and futuristic. I think that those words are a bit more descriptive when it comes to your items. Maritime is a good trend to, or a good word, I think, to include in relevant phrases. I think we have time for maybe 2 more. How much of our shop should be focused on trends versus on general items that we keep in stock? So I think trends are a great thing to be aware of. I think, as business owners, it's important to stay on top of what's trending in the marketplace. That being said, at the end of the day, you know your business best. Like, you've done research, you've got great insights, you've got reviews, buyer testimonials, you know what's going to work best for your shop and resonate with your audience. And so I would say think of trends as, a starting off point. But if a trend doesn't work for your shop, if it doesn't fit into your larger strategy, no worries. And I think if you're unsure sort of whether or not to experiment with trends, I would say take a look at your shop stats. I know I just said this, but let me dive in a little deeper. Your shop stats are going to be a great source of insights and information related to what's performing well in your shop. So how are buyers finding you? Which of your listings are converting from a view to a sale? And I think if you're feeling a lot of success with your current stock and inventory, trends might just be something to be aware of and experiment with from time to time. But, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That said, if you're looking to expand your inventory, if you're looking to evolve your product line, if perhaps sales for a certain item are down, I think trends are a great starting point when you're noticing a shift or if you're looking to grow. I hope that helps. All right, we have time for one more question. Okay, here's one that got a couple upvotes. How do we get our conversion rates higher? So not super specific about trends, but definitely an important question. When you're thinking about your conversion rate, so going from a view to a sale, I advise putting yourself in the buyer's shoes. Take a look at your item. You just entered a search. You were given a ton of search results. You click into an item, and now what? What is going to take you from view to purchase? I think photography is probably the most important thing. So not only do you want your photos to clearly capture what it is you're selling, but you want to make sure you're showing your product in the best possible light. And I think there's certain types of photos that are really important to include here. So an up close shot. If it's vintage, like, you want to see those imperfections. You want to know exactly what it is you're getting. If it's jewelry and it's a more metallic material or a type of metal, you really want to understand the shine. And so up close shots are really important. And then I think also shots further back, showing off how an item looks in a space or fully visible. I also think listing videos are great here, especially when we think about clothing, like fit, flow, movement. Basically, you want to answer as many questions as possible with your photography. And then the second step is to make sure you're answering every possible question and describing your item really well in your listing description. So nailing it with the photos, remember you can have up to 10 images on each photo. And then also, in addition to 10 photos, you can have a listing video. Then your listing description needs to look great, needs to inform buyers exactly what the item is, what it is you're selling. And then from there are some other factors that I think you can think about. So again, putting yourself in your buyer's shoes, what are you seeing on the listing page? Price, shipping, materials used, policies. Maybe I want to learn more about the seller and I navigate over to the seller's about section. I think there are a few different areas that you can fill out to really ensure you're giving buyers the most information possible to help them make an informed purchasing decision. All right, everyone. I hope that was helpful. I really hope you're excited about these trends and feeling inspired. I hope this was a good jumping off point if you're looking to add new trends to your shop. I really appreciate the time that you took to be here with us today, all the great insights and ideas that you shared in the chat. So thank you so much. If you would like to learn more about these trends, I highly encourage you to go to etsy.me/trends2025. There you'll find our full Marketplace Insights report, and you can dive in a bit deeper. I also highly recommend following us over on Etsy Success on Instagram, where we'll continue to talk about all these different trends in detail. All right, thanks so much for tuning in, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Bye.